Hello everyone, I am back with something very exciting following our recent trend of weapon switch kind of exploits, tricks with the dead ringer to drop weapons to your teammates. I've got something way better than just slightly reducing the critical or cooldown. This is giving you a brand new caber, that's right. The spy disguises friendly and drop weapon exploit with the dead ringer can be used to give demos fresh new cabers which work exactly like the original, and that's just massive. I mean, usually the only way to get a new caber, as you saw in that clip before, was to walk all the way back to the respawn, unless you're doing something really nifty with, like, say, 2 teleporters, which I might do later on. Usually, yeah, this is a one hit and you're done weapon. Although, now that I've been using it for a bit, it's been nerfed, right? The caber got nerfed. It used to be really strong, and now people see it as mostly completely useless. And they're not that wrong. But when you can have multiple hits with it, it's really not too bad. And even if you only have the one hit, its subsequent hits after it's broken do 55 damage each and only have a 20% slower firing speed. So of course it's going to be worse than a bottle after the first hit. It's only fair. But it's not actually as bad as it used to be, if I recall correctly. I mean, I never really used the caber much, and that's why using it today, discovering this new kind of drop caber playstyle to have multiple caber swings per life, or per trip back to the respawn cabinet, was so much fun. I was having such a blast killing people with this weapon. So much, just so much has changed with Demo Night and Demo Man since I used the caber ages ago. I remember sticky jumping at people and hitting them to take them out one shot. You can't really do that anymore. You have to do something else to kind of crank up the damage. And I'm comboing this weapon with the booties and the splendid screen. Now the other two shields definitely have their merits and they'll be worth talking about. Probably talk about them a little bit later on. But the reason I'm using the shields is just because you got to get that charge damage. Now also, charging got completely changed, and you could argue nerfed, because you can't just get an impact and get a crit swing. You have to charge for a certain distance. But the caber does so much damn damage that even just getting an impact and a mini crit is totally enough for most cases. But when you do get those crits, and those crits can hit multiple people because it's an explosion, man, that's awesome. Getting multi-kills with a melee weapon is really fun, and kind of reminds me of the third degree in some ways, except instead of them being connected by a minigun beam, they just have to be standing, you know, anywhere near your target. I said previously that the critical drop was probably the best way to use the dead ringer weapon drop function, but no, I was completely wrong. Dropping a caber is so much more valuable. This weapon is so amazing, does so much damage, but at the same time, despite it being really fun to use, really fun to charge, hit people, blow up your enemies, you gotta kind of question, is this better than the Scotsman Skull Cutter? On a crit swing, the Scotsman Skull Cutter can do upwards of 200 damage, and it's much better in its base form. The Skull Cutter is able to two-shot medics and has the sword extended range. So while the caber might not be the most viable, the best contender for a spot, being able to pick up multiple cabers is such a thrill, especially when you got to pick them up from the thick of the battle. Sometimes it's not really good or easy for a spy to get high ground, drop down and drop the dead ringer, so sometimes the spies I was working with would just kind of stand in enemy fire, and while that was great for rapid reloads and getting rapid cabers out, it was really dangerous peeking out to pick them up. Now, had some pretty stressful situations, but it actually in the end it worked out pretty well, and despite not having a medic up my butt for the majority of this gameplay, I actually managed to get out way more than I should have. I got away with just murder in this gameplay. Players apparently forget to shoot a demo man while he's running away after hitting someone with a caber. Not sure what's up with that, but I certainly, did get away with a lot of stuff I shouldn't have. Alright, now let's talk about the splendid screen. My reasoning behind putting it on initially was just that I wanted to do damage, right? I've got the caber, I'm charging, I'm doing crits. I want to have that impact and then a quick caber swing to just kind of lock in the kill on any target. I didn't want to run into situations where I wasn't killing people that I charged at. Now, because of my incompetence mostly, I actually wasn't connecting a lot of charges. I was getting over eager and swinging first, and while the caber's massive damage usually saved me, I probably missed out on a ton of kills just for not getting that impact alone. And also, as you'll see later on, you can impact and hit someone into the air and then have them take even more damage from cratering, and that's pretty funny when it happens, but of course it's a pretty rare situation. That being said, the other two shields are totally viable and perhaps even better in some circumstances. I mean, the charge and targe obviously will let you get out a whole lot more. The resistances are great, really help you out, It is important to note, however, that the charge and targe will not reduce self-damage, so any kind of thoughts of you using it to tank your own Caber, sorry, that's not going to quite pan out. As you saw back there, I actually tried very poorly to use the Caber as sort of an escape mechanism. Now, the Caber can be used to sort of rocket jump, but usually that's a bit of a complete disaster because your massive source of damage has now been turned into a relatively useless stick with no bomb on the end. However, when your spy friend can drop you a new Caber as frequently as his dead ringer recharged, you can kind of just throw that out there if you need to, and using it to escape, coming back, picking up a new Caber is a great move, and I strongly encourage it, if you can pull it off. I barely can. Now for the Tide Turner, and this one's a bit interesting, okay? So using the Tide Turner would really increase the rate at which you could charge. So I imagine a situation would be like, you run in there, hit someone, impact them, get a mini crit, kill them, then you regen your charge, then you charge straight back out again. That sounds great, that sounds awesome. I mean, you don't really, okay, you do need the full crit in some situations, but usually the mini crit will suffice against light targets and non-overhealed players. But the Tide Turner has that annoying downside where being shot while in mid-charge will drain it and will completely stop you eventually, and that can be just terrible. It's really not what you want when you're in position going at an enemy to be completely stopped in your tracks. And while Demo moves at a decent speed thanks to the booties without charging, I really wanted to lock in those kills that I was getting, so I didn't try the Tide Turner, but it is something that I will definitely look into in the future if I ever revisit the strategy, because yeah, there are 3 demo shields, and all of them will drastically change how you play this. And I mean, this is really my first time trying it. I don't know if anyone else has farmed Cabers like this, but I figured this was the best way to start out. But of course, I'm willing to try new things. I mean, that's what my channel's all about. One interesting effect of the Caber nerf is that because basically no one uses it, and no one's seen it for like ages, people were reacting to it really strangely. Like, no one really had the kind of fear of the Caber that people used to. No one gives Demo a ton of ground when he's holding it out, so I could kind of use that to my advantage, and this kind of underestimation was really helpful. Oh, here's the kill. Charge and knock him into the air, an environmental kill with the Caber. Now that's something. As always, and this goes for pretty much any fun, non-serious kind of tactic in TF2, all of the main fun-ruining classes will wreck you, that being snipers, heavies, and engineers. I didn't actually run into too many engies. Charging at engineers with the Caber isn't exactly recommended. We had a pretty funny situation where I teamed up with the spy to sap, and I was going to charge at it and blow it up with my Caber. Unfortunately, he had the dead ringer up, so the sap didn't work, and it didn't turn out exactly as planned. But for the majority of the times, because there's always a spy helping me out, he could usually help out sap it, and together we could mostly take it down, but it was pretty hit and miss, I will admit. One pretty funny hitch we ran into, and I wasn't actually expecting this, it was kind of weird. I know a lot of guys in the comments ask for strats without medics, because it's hard to find someone who's willing to just pocket you for no reason. So this is something that I really like because you just need a spy, and everyone loves playing spy, and it's really not too hard to convince someone to disguise as you with your Caber every now and then, and just drop you some free weapons. However, if you ever try this on a team with multiple demo, it can be really annoying because the spy has no way of choosing which demo he disguises at, so if he gets unlucky, it might take a ton of fumbling around with the disguise kit until he gets the right one, and that can be, yeah, pretty annoying. Especially in those clutch kind of situations when you really need to pick up a Caber, get in there and kill someone or die. Oh my god, there's a pretty funny clip coming up. So you know how I talked about using the Caber as an escape? Well, if you're a complete idiot, you can also use it as a way to get to enemies. As I said before, the Caber has a 20% slower firing speed and only does 55 damage a swing, unlike the bottle 65, with no chance of random crits. But if you see a target that is squishy, why not jump up there and check him out? Of course, I was very lucky again to escape with my life. A Tomislav heavy and a demo who probably had a trap. Well, actually, he probably didn't because he would have deaded it. He was probably AFK more than anything. Managed to get out of that. Did not deserve to at all, though. But you can go for those risky plays if you want. I've got no idea how to Caber jump properly. Like, I'm sure if you hit the wall or the ground at a specific angle, you better get some proper movement forward. Oh, here again. You gotta not fear those engineers. You gotta go straight for them. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I reckon this was a really kind of creative way to use TF2 weapons, and a way to play with your friends that isn't just getting pocketed to crap by a medic, and actually a creative way of using Spy's abilities to achieve something that no other class can do. Well, that is all I have got for you right now. I'll catch you next time, and hopefully it won't be a video about picking up weapons off the ground. I'm sure we've had enough of that for now.